Hey guys, I'm Mel. I am the CEO and chef behind the brand Bake It With Mel. I create these amazing baking kits that come with everything you need to make totally Instagrammable desserts. Today, we've done this amazing collaboration with Already Baked, and they make these absolutely delicious cake layers that come frozen, delivered right to your door. Today, we're gonna decorate this cake with a vanilla buttercream, and we'll show you some really fun piping techniques that you can do. And of course, we're gonna do a secret explosion in the center of the cake, so you'll learn how to do that too. All right, it's time, guys. Let's take a peek into our baking kit, and we can see everything that you get in order to decorate these amazing cake layers. So we have our sprinkles, our powdered sugar, a little offset spatula. Of course, we give you the cake board and a piping bag. And last but not least, we also have our piping tip. With this decorating kit, you get 4 of these unbelievable, already baked cake layers. I think we're ready to get started. Okay, so the most important thing when you're making buttercream, I have to say, is room temperature butter. You want it not to be melted, but you want it nice and soft so that as soon as you turn on your mixer, it spreads perfectly. Okay? Step 2, we're gonna grab our already pre-measured sugar here, and now this is powdered sugar, so it's already got a little bit of like cornstarch in it, so that's what actually binds your frosting together. And it's important to add this sugar in about 3 parts. Also, a little pro tip, I'm sure you've done this at home, definitely lower the speed before you go ahead and pour it in, because if not, it's gonna snow all over here. So we're gonna turn this off a little bit and go ahead and add in just about 1/3. And now we're gonna go ahead and mix this on like a medium speed for at least 3 to 5 minutes. So while we're mixing our frosting, I still have a little bit more powdered sugar to go ahead and add in there, but I'm gonna get started on removing the center from these cake layers because I don't wanna rush my frosting. So right now it's still a little bit yellow, and you'll see if we let it mix a little bit longer, it's gonna get even whiter. So I know what you're thinking. You need a bunch of tools. I've never been able to make this explosion cake before. How do they not melt in the oven? How do we do this? It's actually very simple. You can actually do it with your very own paring knife in your kitchen, and we're just gonna actually cut right into the center, like a little circle, and push it through. So you just want to loosen it a little because you definitely don't want to break them, so be gentle. And then you just remove it. Now, it's tempting. You probably want to eat this, but you're going to want to save at least one because we're going to need one, and you'll see why. So don't eat them yet. Okay. We're going to do the same thing for all of the other cake layers. One more chef tip for you guys. I'm going to show you how to make this frosting the creamiest buttercream frosting you've ever had. It's a very simple trick. You actually want to use a little bit of milk to go ahead and loosen the butter and cream it together even more with the sugar. So we're gonna add a little bit at a time. And for this amount, honestly, if you have about 5 or 6 tablespoons, that's plenty. And then I'm gonna go ahead and start the mixer. All right, our frosting is ready. Let's get started on our cake. So the first thing we want to do is grab a little bit of frosting and just put it right down in the center of our cake board. This is going to allow the cake to stick so that it doesn't move around when you're decorating it and when you're putting the buttercream all the way around. It's really important. Here's the little trick. Remember how I told you to save these little centers from your cake layers before? We're actually going to go ahead and take one and cut it in half. We're gonna save half. You'll see we're gonna use it later. And we're gonna take the second half and plug it right into the center of our cake and push it all the way down. Now, this is important to have this one on the bottom because it's gonna keep the sprinkles from actually coming all the way out onto the bottom. Okay, next, we're gonna go ahead and actually place a little bit of buttercream on the edges, just like this. Now, this part is really important. You really definitely do not want to get buttercream in the center of your cake. So I'm showing you a technique right now that you can do with just the offset spatula. And then once we do the second layer, I'll go ahead and show you the technique using the piping bag. Okay, but this is just to show you kind of how to get started with your little offset spatula. And we put a little bit of buttercream frosting, just like that, all the way around to go ahead and stick our second cake layer. Now, once we place our cake layer on here, you can see that the holes perfectly match up, so we'll be able to pour our sprinkles through. Now we're gonna go ahead and grab our piping bag, and I'm gonna show you a few tricks so that you can actually feel like a total pro while you're using this. So the first thing we wanna do is go ahead and cut the tip off. So right now we're just gonna go ahead and cut about there. Now what you wanna do is grab both edges and you wanna push them down and roll it on top of each other, okay? And I'm using my right hand to kind of guide me to open the bag and to place the piping tip inside the bag. And we wanna just go ahead and push this through. Next, and very important, and don't forget, once you hold your piping bag, you wanna go ahead and push in the piping bag into the bottom of the tip. This is gonna keep the frosting from falling out or anything else that you decide to load into your piping bag when you're baking. I'm gonna use my small offset spatula. I don't need any other tools here to go ahead and load the frosting. Okay, now don't overload your frosting. You can always fill it back up. So now what I wanna do is go ahead and lift back up the top of the piping bag, like so. And like I said, since I'm right-handed, I'm gonna go ahead and grab the piping bag here, right from the top, and just lightly twist. See that motion? Right here, and just twist one more time. Now we're gonna pull this out, and we're gonna let all the air out, so I'll be able to actually push the frosting all the way down to the tip of the piping bag without any mess and without any spill. So I'm gonna start here from the outside, and I'm kind of just gonna pipe the frosting all the way around. I'm gonna grab my little offset spatula and just kind of just flatten the frosting down a little bit. Perfect. Now again, I avoided the center of the cake, which is really important because when we put this cake in the refrigerator, the buttercream is going to solidify with those sprinkles and it's going to keep them from falling out. Okay, perfect. Now this is my favorite part, and I'm sure it's going to be your favorite part. This is when we get to grab our little bag of sprinkles and fill the center of our cake. Now, remember that center of the cake layer we cut in half earlier? We used half of it to plug in the bottom of our cake, and we're gonna use the second half to plug in the top of our cake. Now I'm gonna use some more frosting and cover the top of the cake, okay? So now what we're gonna do is called the crumb coat, okay? The crumb coat is actually a very important step. It's a very thin layer of buttercream that's applied to the round edges of your cake here all the way around, and that's gonna seal in the crumbs. I mean, how much fun is this? We didn't have to wait for our cake layers to cool. We didn't have to make the full batter and go shopping for all of those ingredients. We really just got to jump right into the fun stuff. I mean, it really doesn't get better than that. Okay. So that's great enough right now at this point for the crumb coat. I'm gonna put this in the refrigerator for 10 to 15 minutes just for the butter to get a little bit more firm and seal in those crumbs. And then we're gonna go ahead and finish with a second coating all the way around and get ready for our piping right on top. All right, we finished the second coating of buttercream around our cake, and now it's time for some piping action. When you're piping rosettes on the top of your cake, you want to move clockwards. So what I mean by that is I'm going to go ahead and do a mark here where midnight would be. I'll do a little mark here where 6 would be. Same for 3 and same for 9. Okay. Once I have those marks, I'm gonna use those to go ahead and pipe those 4 rosettes, starting with midnight. Now I'm just gonna move over. Now the reason you do this is so that there's even spacing in between your rosettes. It's very important in order for the cake to look balanced. If this kind of gets in your way, here's another little trick. Use your thumb and wrap it around and twist. That way it's not flapping around and distracting you while you're trying to do your beautiful piping. Okay, and then we had one more. Perfect. Now I know what you're thinking. This cake looks amazing. But you're almost done. I'm gonna show you one more little piping trick in order to finish off your cake, and then we're gonna top it with some sprinkles. Now what I'm gonna do is called an escargot. So it's kind of like an up and down motion, and we do 1, 2, 1, 2. It always helps to count. 1, 2, 1, 2. Perfect. So it looks beautiful all the way around. I know what you're thinking. There's flying sprinkles everywhere, but that's totally fine. Like I said, I think life is always better with more sprinkles. What I'm gonna do is also just take a little bit in my hand, and I'm gonna apply them to the top of where we just piped. Just be careful to not touch the piping that you just did because the frosting is still really soft. Ta-da! Guys, I'm so excited. We made it to the end of our cake session here with Bake It With Mel and Already Baked. This cake is absolutely beautiful. I hope you guys learned a lot about baking techniques, piping techniques, decorating techniques, and all that good stuff. One last little comment. If you are decorating and baking, make sure to add us or tag us on Instagram. I help all my bakers live. If you have any questions about decorating or piping or all that good stuff, make sure to ask me. And now we're gonna cut the cake. Oh my God, I can feel the sprinkles. So excited. Okay, moment of truth. Let's see if we can see all of these beautiful sprinkles. And it's about to cascade sprinkles! Ah, it's a confetti party! I mean, seriously, guys, how amazing is this? And look how even those cake layers are. And you didn't even have to waste like an hour and a half baking them. Amazing.